My first film study of this week is going to be a look at some of the big plays that the Ravens defense made in their Monday Night Football. Their dominant win over the Saints. I mean, 27-13 really doesn't do it justice. That is one of the problems with this team, and we talked about it a little bit with the Bucs game. You can outplay a team significantly, and still in those two games, let's talk about the Bucs and the Saints road wins collectively. Yes, we outscored them 54-35 in the course of those 8 quarters, but if you ask me, the gameplay was a more significant differential in terms of points. I think we could have, and by a combined score, won those two games by 30 or 34 points, somewhere in that area. You let me know what you thought of that. You think of that thought. So we're going to look at certain plays, selected plays throughout the game. I think it's 9 plays overall. We'll have 2 angles on certain plays here. But let's talk about the stats a little bit. So the Ravens held New Orleans to 48 yards rushing on 15 carries. Pretty impressive. A little over 3 yards per carry. Alvin Kamara, 9 carries, 30 yards. He did have 3 catches for 32 yards. One of them was an amazing one-handed catch on a 2nd and 20 for like 12 or 13 yards. Not discounting it, but I'm just saying the biggest splash play that he had, other than one inside zone play where he really hit it downhill, the biggest splash play he had was a 12 or 13-yard catch. That was a one-handed catch on 2nd and 20. We really made things difficult for them. I know Andy Dalton's playing quarterback for them. Jameis Winston's supposed to be their starter. He's had some injury trouble. Look, we had 7 hits on Andy Dalton. 7 quarterback hits. I would be interested to see, for us to go back and look at the historical performance of Andy Dalton against us and see how many games we had 7 hits and 4 sacks against him historically, because he generally does get rid of the ball pretty quick, and I think he was trying to do that in last night's game. Justin Houston, a phenom, a revelation, 2.5 sacks, an interception, almost another sack, I think, nearly a forced fumble, a pass defensed or knocked down. We had 6 passes defensed. Now, Marlon was one of them. Queen was one of them. But then Brent Urban had one. Justin Matabike had one. Calais Campbell had one. And Houston had one. 4 guys with passes defensed along the D-line. I think there is something to be said for that. How much are we always going to get 4 of them per game? No, I think 4 is a little high. But if you can get 2 or 3, that's 2 or 3 times per game that's an incomplete pass, but there's a secondary, benefit to it. Some of those passes deflected go up in the air, like Brent Urban's that Houston picked off. I think it's an underrated skill, especially when you're facing someone like Andy Dalton, who does get rid of the ball quick, and there are going to be times where your pass rush can't get there because the design of the play, the read progression is if then. If this, throw it here. If not this, throw it there. And that's it. 2 reads. Get rid of the ball quick. Let the playmakers make plays. And I think the Ravens handled that well. No one had above 7 tackles. Marlon had 7. Kyle had 6. Patrick Queen and Roquan both had 5. Really balanced effort, showing the depth of the roster defensively, if you ask me. Not here to talk about the offense at all, just the defense. To me, they're really improving overall. Let's take a look at some of the film so you guys can have a look for yourself, and then let me know what you think. This is first drive. This is 3rd and 6. So the first 3rd down of the game for the Saints, and Bowser's going to get a free run off the edge. We did some interesting things in terms of our pass rush. We were lining up Bowser and Houston on the same side a lot. Now, last year, we did this the opposite way. Houston would be over here to the right, and Oweh and Bowser would be next to each other. We did that a lot. Sometimes it would be different. Sometimes Oweh would be the outside guy, Bowser would be the inside guy. And we would, drop Bowser out of there and rush Oweh. And then maybe, bring an inside backer through the B gap. It's interesting to me what we're doing. We have Oweh over on this side. Houston was battling against the guards often, and that was a huge mismatch. In this case, Campbell is just occupying the center. The tackle is dealing with Houston, and so Bowser's just got a free run off the edge. Pretty good coverage here on the back end. You've got an underneath crosser by Taysom Hill that Roquan Smith could play or let pass through because Hamilton's able to take it. This looks like a zone blitz to me. This looks like cover 3 with 4 under and 3 deep. We did run a lot of 4-man blitzes, and we brought some 5-man pressure as well. Second play is going to be from the second possession. This is a 1st and 10, and this is the defensive pass interference call on Chuck Clark. I still don't get it. I see two guys making contact. Maybe it's past the 5-yard mark, but to me, the flag comes in from back here, and I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with the referee in terms of his intentions. I think he thinks he sees something, which is Chuck Clark holding, when what is actually occurring is the tight end appears to be faking a block and then shedding Chuck Clark to the inside. To me, that's not defensive pass interference. I just don't see it. If that's defensive pass interference, then my favorite player from the draft, Ahmad Gardner, should be called for defensive pass interference 8-10 times a game. And I'm not being insulting towards him. I love the way he plays coverage. That is not pass interference. If that's pass interference, that shit should be called 10-12 times a game on both teams. So 20, 24 times total. I just don't think that's a pass interference. I don't think it's anything other than the tight end and Chuck Clark being physical. I feel like we should have had Kyle Hamilton's first interception of his career. Again, it's a 1st and 10, second possession. Early in the game, we would have had the ball down there inside the 10. We're bringing heat. Roquan Smith is coming, blitzing off the inside. We got two guys working off this edge. And up top, you don't really see the contact prior to this. I don't really see the contact here. The ball hits off the tight end's hands. Hopefully that video resolution is good for you guys. It's a video, so as I move it, they're moving. You're going to get some blurring. To me, I don't see interference here. You can let me know what you think. Yeah, did Chuck Clark stop playing football on the 41-yard touchdown by that same tight end later in the game? Fine. If you want to focus on that, fine. I understand what Harbaugh was saying about it late last night and today, that if Chuck was to take off and hit that guy, that could be a 15-yard penalty because the play's over. To me, that right there, this defensive pass interference, should not be held against him. I think he's just playing defense and competing. All right, second drive. This is a 2nd and 3. And this is going to be 2 consecutive run fits by Roquan Smith. Giving you the end zone angle so you can see how he fits it. He's unique. I'm not saying that it's not other guys that can do this, okay? Now, you also have an unbelievable effort by Broderick Washington here. Queen is stunting in here on a read. So the tackle, which is, I think, is Hurst, is comboing Broderick Washington to Queen. You can see him do it as I rewind this and run it back. He's comboing Washington. Queen tries to cross his face, so he takes him. And then Roquan Smith just folds over the top. That's not Roquan Smith's gap. I'm not saying that Patrick Queen did anything wrong either. But watch the play develop. You can clearly see his gap open up here. Patrick Queen have a wide open gap here. I'm not talking about pre-snap gaps. Your gap pre-snap is not always how things shake out 1.2 to 1.4 seconds after the ball is snapped. So right here, you can see this is Roquan Smith's gap. But he's got the ability to read Alvin Kamara and then go cover up another gap. Like I said, Broderick Washington made a nice play. Patrick Queen was pressing downhill, so I like how he played that as well. So 3rd and 1, very next play after that 2-yard gain. And another stop by Roquan Smith and a unbelievable play by Marlon Humphrey. This is similar to some of the stuff we run, except we're not under center when we run it. And our quarterback is open and opposite. Now, this is a reverse pivot by the quarterback. So he's opening to this side. And then the run action is to this side. So that's what I mean by a reverse pivot. But we would do this under pistol. And the running back would go to this side and then wind it back. And I think that presents a little bit more conflict for defensive guys. Roquan Smith is just tracking him. This is an unbelievable run fit, if you ask me. And as this guy goes in motion, Harrison takes him on. Watch the pad level that Harrison plays with. I'm not saying that Harrison's got great technique here on this play, but it's good pad level compared to the two guys he takes on. 51, the pulling lineman, and then the H-back, 88. Look how he stood this guy up. I'm not saying it's incredible pad level or technique by Harrison either, but look how he stood him up. And then here is Roquan Smith to fit inside the second puller, and then Humphrey fits in this tight window between the pulling tight end and the down block of the other one. It's a beautiful play, man. 3rd and 1, that set a tone on the second drive. Kamara is a talented guy. I don't, whatever else is going on, I don't know anything about it. All I know is, he's a talented guy with the ball in his hands. Another thing that I have noticed consistently going back to preseason is that Brent Urban is a handful. Now, he goes down to his knees here, but he's getting washed down, going down to his knees, but he's at least able to maintain his strength. I can't believe he stayed up there. To me, right here, it looks like he should be pancaked immediately. He's a strong dude. Now, granted, it's a tight end that he's dealing with. Roquan Smith fits it up great. Marlon Humphrey's playing at an all-pro level. I'm just going to say it. That's just reality. He's playing at an incredibly high level. How many people are playing at a higher level than him? I'm not sure. Here's Hump. There's Roquan Smith. Same play, all 22 angle. Smith is a natural fitter. I used to say this to kids all the time. Yes, you have a gap, but the running back might not go through that gap. So you may have to betray that gap and go find a running back, but be on the correct leverage side. So what I mean by leverage side is look where Roquan Smith fits this. Because he's got help out here with Harrison and Humphrey. He fits this on the inside, which is the leverage side he should take. Beautiful play. Humphrey, can't say enough about him. Malik Harrison, Brent Urban, each competing there. Chuck Clark in there competing. All right, 3rd drive. 3rd and 8, -22. This is a great play by Houston. Again, he's going to be working against a guard. But, man, what can you say about Patrick Queen? The unselfishness. He's been asked to do this before. All right, he's done this since 2020. I have seen him miss this. This is just unselfish behavior by a guy who's a star, at least on our team. Freeing up Justin Houston. Houston gets the sack. To me, this is an example of where one guy gets the statistical designation, but the other guy makes the play. The running back misses Queen. Houston has a free run here. Calais Campbell is not blitzing, not rushing really at all. He's just trying to occupy. See, he's lined up in the A gap that Houston's going to go through, essentially. So watch him cross face of the center, get to the guard. So he's occupying the guard and the center. Houston goes free, and look, there's the guard in the center occupying Calais Campbell. Beautiful design, beautiful execution on a 3rd and 8 on the 3rd drive, for Houston to get a sack. End zone angle, same play. There's Queen. I don't know what else you can say about this other than this is just beautiful football. This is the way the game is meant to be played. Unselfishly, physical, with a plan. And then you go out and execute the plan. And then you have guys like Justin Houston that are they're just finishing. He's finishing everything. How many times last year did we see him get in situations, maybe not ones exactly like this, and be unable to finish the play? He's finished almost every one of them this year. Unbelievable start for him to this season, the first half of the year. Man, if he gives this kind of production the second half of the year, the sky's the limit in terms of how he'll be judged at the end of the season. 6 possession. This is to open the second half, I believe. This is a 2nd and 4, and it's another sack by Justin Houston. He's almost, I think this is the one where he's almost kind of toying with the right tackle. It's not for those of you that have played basketball, sometimes you change speeds on people. You don't give them the same speed all the time. You want to kind of break the pattern of what you present to them in terms of the problems you present to a defender. To me, he's almost going 70% here. And I'll let this run a couple of times so you can see it full speed. He's not going full speed. Queen is making a hell of an effort, if you ask me. No rip by Queen on the guard. Unable to finish it off, but Houston does. Still really thought that this ball was coming loose, but now that I've seen the replay, it looks like Dalton holds on to it, but it is super close. The ball looks like it's just coming out of his fingertips, I guess right as his backside and everything is hitting the ground. Unbelievable play. Justin Houston, we're very blessed to have him. Same play from the all-22. And you'll see the timing of Queen's blitz and then the fold underneath by Houston. He's just got such awareness, he being Houston. He's so aware of the quarterback's movement in the pocket while he's operating against an offensive tackle with his hands, running some kind of move. When the quarterback moves, steps up, rolls out of the pocket, runs the other direction, Justin Houston's got laser focus on it, but at the same time, he's running a move and reacting to the tackle's move. Now, unfortunately, the Saints were able to get the first down on the next play. So this is now still 6 possession, 3rd and 4, and it's going to be a sack by Humphrey. It's a beautiful call. He's lined up in the slot over Olave. I think we were up 17-3 at this point, and this makes it 17-6. Or maybe it was 14-3, made it 14-6. But nice timing on the blitz off the edge. And this is very similar in some ways to the Sticks Blitz 0. Because look, you've got Calais Campbell and Matabike dropping out. I'm not a huge fan of it. I'm not going to lie. I'm not. But in this case, it works because we're basically inverting the personnel. Humphrey and Hamilton are going to blitz off the edge speed. And then we're dropping big, aware bodies in the middle, so at least they don't have to cover huge amounts of space. They're kind of working in tandem together, they being Campbell and Matabike. And you can see them covering up the inside breaking routes by 10 and by the tight end. Olave was allowed to release to Geno Stone. Geno Stone appears to be in good relationship there. Huge play by Humphrey to get a sack. I hope he gets a couple more sacks this year, or a couple more maybe interceptions or pass deflections, because he's going to need that to be given the recognition he deserves for how well he's played this year. I think he's played about as well as we've seen him play in 3, 4, 5 years. Let me know what you think of that. I think he's playing at an all-pro level, and I don't think there's many guys in the NFL playing at a higher level than he is. 7th possession. I believe it's 17-6 now, but it could be wrong. Maybe it's 26 at this point. 3rd and 7, and there could be a split sack between Campbell and Houston. Another thing, let's mention it one more time, is that you got Houston and Bowser on the same side on the left, and then Oweh on the right. That's new this year compared to last year. This is lethal when he's being allowed to work on a guard. Athletically, yeah, I know that guy came into the game, I believe, 76. He came into the game when their starting center got hurt. Even still, this is a mismatch. This is great planning by our coaches and our staff in terms of finding a matchup that we can deal with and we can win. I thought it would be Houston against Hurst. We didn't do that. Houston seemed to be attacking the guards and just gave them incredible problems all game long. And I'm surprised that Andy Dalton was able to get up and walk away from that. That was a huge hit. I don't know if you guys noticed it. The video kind of jumps out here, but my man Calais Campbell is trying to do his home run baseball swing celebration, and nobody wants to celebrate with him. Everybody wants to roll with Justin Houston. One thing I like about it is it's a 4-man rush. And we're playing zone up here to the top side, and then man on the bottom side. Backside of trips. I mean, this is a very common coverage to trips, playing man to the single receiver side, the X. Now, this is not an X. This is a tight end. So it's 11 personnel, 3 receivers to the top side, tight end backside. So maybe that's why we locked up man, because we're like, okay, this is a matchup we can win. Marcus Peters against the tight end. And then Patrick Queen going up against the running back. The only thing I worry about is there's this later developing in route. I wonder if we're going to see this again. Roquan Smith seems to be going with the drag by the backside Y or X. And that guy's breaking open, but you can see there was no time to get that ball off. That was 7th possession. I don't have the interception, to be honest with you, by Justin Houston. I'm not able to get it from the NFL.com website. So can't show that one yet until it shows up on Game Pass International. I thought the Ravens defense had a shit ton of guys make plays. I mentioned probably 10 or 12 names in this video. There's some that I didn't mention, really a lot of. Geno Stone, Chuck Clark I did talk about, the DPI. Marcus Peters, I talked about a little bit. I think there's some coverage stuff going on to that side of the field when the ball was on the right hash, so to the boundary. I think there's some coverage issues over there in terms of what we're calling and then how we're matching up in some of our read coverages. I can't prove it yet, but there seems to be a real focus by the Saints in this game on lining up in twin slot, so twins to the field to the left, and then a tight end and a guy on the line of scrimmage to the boundary, and then throw in some type of quick three-step drop, route concepts to the boundary, taking advantage of our coverage over there away from the nickel defender. Let me know what you think of how we played on defense. After Houston's interception, we get a 27-6 lead on a short touchdown run by Drake. Game's over at that point. We unfortunately give up the bad touchdown where it looked like Peters and Clark kind of both stopped playing football. I still thought that our defense was very impressive. Let me know what you thought. If someone had told me we would hold them to 48 yards rushing as a team and 13 points, I would take it. And I'd say we got a 95% chance to win that game if we hold them to 13 points. I felt like our offense was going to be able to get to 24. On a bad night, 20 or 21 against the Saints defense, who still have some pieces, don't get me wrong. As it is, we put up 27 very easily, could have scored 31 or maybe even 34 or 35. So let me know what you think of the Ravens defense. There's just so many guys who can impact the game. It's not like certain defenses where there's only like 2-star players. This is a collective effort. This is overwhelming you with numbers, overwhelming you with depth. I'm not sure what to compare it to. There's a basketball comparison there somewhere, I guess. The one that comes to mind to me is like was it the 08 Pistons? No, it was before that. 05 Pistons, maybe? When they beat the Lakers, the old man Lakers. They had Karl Malone, Gary Payton, Shaq, and Kobe. It was like the Pistons they were too deep, too physical. They had too much depth, too many guys with length who could defend, who could run, who could score, who could do something on the other side of the ball. To me, that's kind of what this Ravens defense reminds me of, is that Pistons group, just so many guys who can all defend, who can all do multiple things, and we are presenting multiple looks. However, having said that, when we get a matchup like we had here with Houston on the backup right guard, we just kind of keep rolling the dice. Hey, we've got a great chance of winning there. Let's roll the dice. Boom, we hit. It's like everything Justin Houston is doing is a hit right now. Every week they're finding the right matchup for him. Have a longer film study coming out on Justin Houston, hopefully Wednesday evening. Let me know what you guys thought of this video, my first one of this week. Just focusing on the Ravens, how they went down, and just really made things look easy on Monday Night Football against the Saints.